Now, you can follow Viewpoint anywhere in the world. Follow us at www.rhythm937.com/ph. Also on Facebook, we're live on Facebook. It is Viewpoint PH. On Twitter, it is #ViewpointPH. Now, remember, you can listen to this program anywhere in the world. Listen at www.rhythm937.com/ph. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Shegun Olabi. On Viewpoints today, it is something very critical, and it is a very burning issue, one that has been discussed here in this country, in the States, and in other parts of the world. Now, it concerns a personality that a lot of Nigerians know so much. He was a revered Nigerian businessman. In 2012, the Forbes magazine named him as one of the 40th richest African, with an asset estimated to worth over $500 million then. He is the founder and chairman of Moneypulo. Now, the news came in 2018, precisely 27th December 2018, that it passed. And since then, it has been one issue or the other. Since the 27th December 2018, when we gathered that High Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs passed, his burial is yet to be fixed. And a lot of people are wondering. Now, this has developed into a very big issue. Ordinarily, it should have been a family affair. But Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs represents so many things and symbolizes a whole lot of things. And many of these things are now in disrepute with a lot of comments, particularly what it has to do with tradition, custom, processes, and procedure. So on Viewpoints this morning, we shall be having a very special guest with us, and we'll be looking at the issue concerning the death and issues surrounding the burial of High Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs. And it is a great privilege to have in the studio this morning one of his sons who has taken out time out of his busy schedule to be with us on Viewpoint. We have with us in the studio Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs, who is a politician and businessman, and he's taking his time all the way from Lagos to come here. Good morning to you, Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs.
Thank you so very much. Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. And first, I want to thank you so much for coming to us to talk to us on Viewpoint, and our sincere condolences to you over the death of your father. We know this is a very trying period for you, and of course, we can even see that by your dressing, you're still in a mourning mood because you are donning black attire. But again, there are some issues that needs to be cleared. Particularly as this has been in the media, it's been in the social media, it's been in the newspaper, and commentaries are being made on radio concerning Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs. So we deem it fit to want to talk to you about that. So this morning we'll be talking to Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs, who will be speaking to us on issues relating to his father's death and why the burial is being delayed. Now, on Viewpoint this morning, don't forget, we're live on Facebook, we're live on Twitter, and you can follow us at www.rhythm937.com/ph. On Twitter, it is #Viewpoint, and we shall be throwing up on the telephone numbers when the time comes for you to participate live and join in the conversation. Once again, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Now, let's go straight to the matter. The news we have is that your father died at the ripe age of 88 on the 27th of December 2018. Ordinarily, anyone would be excited to have a father died at that age, and given his pedigree and his personality. But again, all seems not to be well, and you seem to have queried the stories that are coming up. Tell us, what exactly is it that you're finding difficult to believe about your father's death? How in your thinking did your father die?
Well, thank you, Shego, and then thank you, Rivers for listening, and I thank God for this very wonderful opportunity. I had prayed, and I'd hoped that I would never be constrained, and feel compelled to come and speak publicly on this issue, because it's quite emotional. The person we're talking about here is my father, and I have to thank you for the very complimentary, very kind words that you have used to describe my father this morning. I thank you so very much. And as you know, he was a great man, was a great philanthropist. He lived his life for others. So at his passing, we all, should be very happy. He died at 88, and we all should have looked forward to giving him a very, very befitting, rest. Unfortunately, that is not the situation. You asked a very pertinent question. If a man dies at 88, and of course we also know that he's been through some procedures. He wasn't completely very well. Well, God took him up to the right age of 88. However, in law, you will presume that that all things being equal, that a death at that age would be a natural death. But we also know that whether there are any novus actus interveniens, which there are any intervening events, then of course those can be brought to bear on the issue. Now in this particular situation, what were the intervening events? We were told much later, not by family sources, not by those who are supposed to have been on the flight with him, that were supposed to have been on that flight on the 27th of December 2018. When they claimed that they were going on holiday, to Ghana. But by other sources, and months into his death, that they were in an aircraft, the chartered aircraft at the Port Harcourt International Airport of Magua for more than 5 hours. The aircraft doors were shut. My father and some other persons, my father, his wife, and some other persons were already, on board the flight. The engines were steaming. Yet the flight was on ground, wasn't taken us to anywhere. And of course, I saw my father on the 26th of December in Abodi Mamogo had a Thanksgiving service. It wasn't looking too well. And there was no indication that there was any intending travel. And so in that situation, you would not expect that there will be any holidays, taken in by flights to go to Ghana on the 27th. But that happened. And then they were in that plane for more than 5-point-something hours before they finally took off to Accra. And what was, the excuse? That the aircraft didn't have a landing permit to arrive in Accra. And Shegun, this was a chartered plane, and the whole purpose, from what we were told, was to take passengers to Accra on holiday. Now, the aircraft leaves Malta. It's a chartered flight, Vista Jet Services, one of the most reputable charter service companies. It leaves its destination, comes to Port Harcourt for the sole purpose of picking passengers to Accra, but fails to obtain a landing permit to land in Accra. Therefore, for more than 5-point-something hours, as we were told, they were in the aircraft, making calls, to Accra, trying to get a landing permit, by which time all the passengers were already on board the flight. And then we also know that my father had a tracheostomy, operation done, and had a tracheostomy tube inserted in his throat, such that even in the comfort of his home, he would need suctioning from time to time to be able to clear his lungs, so that that would ease his breathing. So in the artificial setting of an aircraft, for more than even 1 hour, would be very concerning. But in this situation, they were there for more than 5-point-something hours. So that's one situation. The second one is that somebody, one of the passengers on that flight, gave a statement to the police that they took my father onto the plane. At the time they arrived at Accra, they could barely carry him out of the aircraft, because he was already more than twice his weight. We also have reports from the same medical director at the airport clinic in Accra that my father was brought in dead. All his vitals, were not recordable. No pulse, no respiration, no blood pressure. And his oxygen level was 0. And that there was some degree of stiffness. Now we know that, stiffness, would occur more than 3.20 hours, after death. That will mean that rigor mortis are set. And the flying time from Port Harcourt to Accra is just, about an hour. Therefore, it was very, very concerning, that adding all of these intervening events, that one should ask some questions. And of course, we try to ask the questions at the very family levels. We thought, okay, can we see medical death certificates? Can we see mortuary papers? Can we be told, what happened? And of course, some persons felt affronted that as a son of my father, and as sons of our father, we had no right to ask any questions. And then of course at that point, we had no choice. after some other persons had intervened, chiefs had intervened, the clergy had also intervened, and at some point, of course, down the line, the governor of the state also intervened. But we had no choice but to do a petition to the police to investigate the circumstances surrounding the death of our father. We had not accused anybody of any wrongdoing. We had only invited the police to investigate those circumstances. And that's where, we are.
Now, if I may come in, you said a lot of things there. I believe a lot of people listening to us wonderful. On that particular aircraft, there were a lot of people on board that aircraft. We gathered that Apostle Ziliagri was on that aircraft. I don't know how correct that is, but that is the story we have in the public domain, including some domestic staff to your late father. Again, have you spoken to any of those people to give an account of what actually happened and why the flight delayed, according to you in Port Harcourt?
Well, some of them, have not been allowed, to speak with us. But I have spoken with Apostle Ziliagri, and then he had tried to explain, the issues, and to me, however, I can understand his position, right, as stated that his major interest was to see, that the family got, reconciled. But what he said to me instructively was that he noticed at the point they arrived at Accra that my father's head was completely bent over to one side.
That's what Apostle Ziliagri said to you.
Yes, that's what, that's what he said to me. And that was very concerning. And the earlier stories that we were told was that as they arrived at Accra, my father asked them for the time. And then they told him the time, and then of course at that point they brought him out of the aircraft. The captain of the aircraft came down, shook hands with everybody, including my father, bade everybody goodbye, and then got back into the plane, and then took off. Now all of that story has changed. The story now is as they arrived at Accra, they realized that my father was completely motionless. So even this lends credence to the fact that a few things had happened, and we expect Nigerians, to speak out.
Now, I'm just going to do a follow-up on this because there's also a statement by one Eli. Am I correct? Eli Philemon, who's also supposed to be on that aircraft. Could you tell us what actually was Eli's comments?
Well, Eli, I think we should note that Eli was the personal staff of my stepmother, my father's wife. He was a security aide, very, very heavily built. So you will probably say, oh well, yeah, he was perhaps her bodyguard or something, of sorts. He was also on that flight, and he gave statement to the police that as they arrived at Accra, that while they were in the plane for more than 5 point something hours and the engines were revving, that the chief, my father, got no medical attention. There was not a doctor on the flight. There was a nurse, but the nurse sat, far away from him and never attended to him. He also gave further statement that as they arrived at Accra, it was his responsibility, to try and carry my father out of the aircraft, because of course, he was heavily built, and would be able to assist. But my father was more than twice his weight, and they couldn't carry him out. That in the process of trying to carry my father out, that he tore his jacket tore, his trousers tore, because my father was so very heavy, and they couldn't carry him out. It was more than twice his weight, and these are the same person that took him on board the aircraft. So these are very concerning statements, and this was somebody who was on that flight, and who was a personal bodyguard of my stepmom, and that was his position. So these are very concerning.
But again, let us look at it from the medical point of view. What is in the public domain is that autopsy have been conducted, and results show that your father died of natural causes. Why are you not accepting the report of the autopsy?
Well, I wish, that it were as simple as that and an autopsy had been conducted. But first of all, we should note that autopsies, in this sort of criminal investigations are conducted by the police. The police will make an appeal to the coroner for an order to conduct an autopsy, which was what was done. The Nigerian police, in trying to investigate this matter, got the Interpol involved and then approached the Ghanaian authorities to investigate some aspects of the death that occurred in Ghana. On arriving at Accra, the Nigerian police were shocked, and all of us were shocked to be informed by the Ghanaian police that they have no records of our father entering Ghana, whether dead or alive. So this is even more concerning, because it will also mean that the security infrastructure of Ghana had been breached. And how they were able to take my father into a mortuary, in Accra, without any records of his death at the airport, which they claimed, with the Ghanaian police, or the Ghanaian airport authorities, or the Ghanaian immigration. There was no stamp anywhere to indicate that such a person arrived at Accra on that day and got into Accra. However, my father is in a mortuary. Now, an autopsy, was was conducted on the orders of a coroner, in Accra. And then we had issues with how the autopsy was conducted. Regardless of that, we were prepared, to accept the autopsy report. And the coroner was shocked that since July, when he gave the order for the autopsy, up to September, when he gave a further order that the autopsy report be brought to him by the police, that he had not received any reports, of that autopsy, and was very concerned. And that and also additional information that was now before him, the coroner ruled that he now has reasonable cause to believe that the disease didn't die a natural death, and that let an inquest, begin. Curiously, my father's wife brought a certiorari application before a high court in Ghana, which is a superior court to the coroner's court, asking the court to quash the order of the coroner, calling for an inquest, and also asking for the release of the autopsy report. So it is curious, and I'll read, here to you. This is the order of the coroner. That an inquest should, it is hereby ordered.
And you're reading from the direct.
Yes. That's order of the order for inquest for the coroner's court by the coroner himself. It is hereby ordered that an inquest should be conducted on the death of the deceased, Chief Lulu-Briggs, because I ordered for an autopsy to be undertaken on the deceased following an application for post-mortem by the Ghana Police Service CID headquarters. The report is yet to be submitted since July 2019. With this additional information to the one that forms the basis of the police application, I have reasonable cause to believe that the disease did not die a natural death, and I therefore deem an inquest necessary and accordingly order for one to be done. The Ghana Police Service CID is ordered to make available to this court all processes and documents in their custody, including the autopsy report. Now, this was signed by the coroner, and this order was given on September 6th, 2019.
This means that the coroner also doubts that your father died of natural cause.
But the coroner says that he has reasonable cause to believe that the death was not natural, and therefore an inquest should begin. And he had ordered the police to bring before his court the autopsy report, because he gave the order for the autopsy to be done since July, and that this was September 6th. He was surprised that there was not even a preliminary report. However, the news media everywhere was agog immediately after the autopsy was done. A statement from my father's wife that she had been vindicated by the autopsy, and you can see that even the coroner is saying that there is no report of that autopsy and that the report should be brought. Curiously, you will expect that everybody who was on that flight, that all family members will be concerned, everybody will be alarmed if the coroner had reached the conclusion or had come to say that, well, he has reasonable cause to believe that the disease didn't die a natural death, that the inquest should begin, so that at least, we can. An inquest is not a criminal trial, so we all can at least be seized of the facts of what happened. Curiously, it was my stepmother that went to a higher court with a certiorari application to quash the order of the coroner. One, that the coroner lacked the geographical jurisdiction to have even made the orders in the first instance. Now, the House position was that the coroner's court was that the death occurred at the airport in Accra, which of course by all the available facts now, that's very much in doubt. And that this particular coroner's court was not the court that was most proximate to the Ghana airport. Therefore, this coroner ought not to have heard this matter in the first instance. Now, we should note that this was the same coroner that gave the order for the autopsy to be conducted. Now, you are saying that the coroner lacks the jurisdiction, which means you are saying that the coroner even lacks the authority to have ordered for an autopsy. So you have brought that application, before a high court in Ghana. That matter is still pending. The application has not been moved. It's been adjourned several times, but has not been moved, and that's where we are with regards to that. And then you approach another high court to compel the pathologist to come and file his report before that court. And we had said that no, let the autopsy report be taken before the coroner who ordered for it. Therefore, if we have any issues concerning how the autopsy was conducted or even the report, then the whole world will have an opportunity to put the pathologist on the stand and ask him a few questions. Now, if you go to a high court that didn't order for the autopsy to be done, that the autopsy be filed, the autopsy report be filed in that court. Then you deny all the parties the opportunity to examine that expert evidence, whatever it may contain. So up to this day, we have not seen any autopsy report that's noteworthy. But that if my stepmother was concerned about an autopsy report that she feels would have vindicated her, then of course she would have taken advantage of the order of the coroner, compelling the police to bring the report, if they assume they had a report, to bring the report before the coroner. She was the same person that went to court to say that the coroner lacks the jurisdiction to have even given the orders in the first instance.
This is a little bit of news to us, because we don't even know that your stepmother has gone to court, to the High Court, to stop the decision of the inquest by the coroner. Because what we know and what is in the public domain is that what has been made public or published is that you deliberately delayed the burial of your father, so that you can use his mortal body as a bargaining chip over his assets. That you are the one, that everything has been done, autopsy reports ready, you found a date has been fixed, but you deliberately delayed it, so that you're using his mortal remains as a bargaining chip. Clarify that to us again.
Shegu, what I shared with my father, right, is not what I can even explain. Right? I had so much love for my father, and I love him to this day. I loved him until he was taken away. Therefore, for a son, the biggest honor I could give to my father would have been to give him a very befitting burial and in good time. However, I don't even have access to his mortal remains. My father's body is in a morgue in Ghana. There are court actions that my stepmother had brought before the Ghanaian High Court, asking the court to restrain the transition funeral home where the body is kept from giving the body to me or anybody else in the world other than her, and to also restrain us from having access to the mortal remains of our father. And that matter, right, was ruled upon by the High Court on December 23rd, 2019. So how do you bury, your father when you don't even have his mortal remains? When there is an effort, right, a legal effort to prevent you from even having access to his mortal remains, let alone having custody of the mortal remains. And in December, right, so the court ruled that I am the head of the Dumo Lulu-Briggs family, and that the body be released to the family. Led by me.
I want to come to that because I'm aware of that court case, the ruling in December. In fact, in the face of that ruling, you fixed a date. I think the date was 25th of January 2020, that your father will be buried. But again, that seems not to be going well as well.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you would think that all the statements that have been made in the public domain that my stepmother was interested in giving her husband a very quick burial, that whatever issues that she felt we had haven't been ruled upon by a court of competent jurisdiction on a matter that she brought before the court, but she is the plaintiff in that matter, that the body be released to us, and that also we give an undertaking that she not be subjected to any barbaric or inhuman customary practices of the Calabari people. And I found that even very, very befuddling, because we do not have any such barbaric practices, the Calabari people. We're decent people. We'll be very, very exposed. We had interactions, with Europeans very early on. So there are no such barbaric or inhuman practices. However, the judge had ruled that the body be released to the family, and also that for her comfort, that in conveying the body to Nigeria, she should be allowed 2 representatives, because of course the judge understands that the customary laws precludes a widow from having custody of the mortal remains of her husband, and therefore to give her some comfort, had insisted that she should be allowed to have 2 representatives while the body is being conveyed. Right the following morning, on the 24th of December, I'm sure less than 24 hours after that ruling was given by the judge, my stepmother files an appeal before the Court of Appeal in Ghana, and also 5, a stay of execution of the orders of the courts, that the body should not be given to me. And instructively, on the notice of appeal, she claims that the judge erred in law by determining the matter purely on affidavit evidence, and that this was a matter that ought to have had witnesses called. So the judge erred in law, and therefore the Ghana Court of Appeal should send the matter back to the High Court, not to this same judge, because of course, since they had given the ruling, against her, she presumes that well that they have been biased, and that's has been the accusation, with everybody who had a different opinion from hers. So the matter should be sent back to trial in the High Court. And now you know what that would mean. That if should that application succeed at the Court of Appeal, it will mean that the matter will go back to the High Court. The Chief Justice will then take his time and reassign the matter to a new judge, and then that judge will probably take another 6, 7, 8 months, calling witnesses from Nigeria, to come and appear before the court, and then give evidence just to determine between us, his children, and between I, the head of the house, right? An affidavit has been deposed to even by my older brother, that by the fact that my father made me a chief by himself in 2011, that I am now the head of the house, and therefore he accepts that the body be released, to the family members led by me. So you are now saying that you want this matter tried in the High Court, and that for the High Court to take evidence, call witnesses and all that matter could take for another 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, and at the end of that period to determine whether between the wife and us, the sons, we should have the mortal remains. So how are you interested in giving your husband a quick burial? The story is you want him buried almost immediately. How are you interested in that if you want this matter to be set in trial? So you are not asking the Court of Appeal to give you the body. You are asking the Court of Appeal to send the matter back to the High Court for trial. And it should, I think it's important to also note that in their applications, she had made it clear before the court in her affidavit that she will release the body only on the day of the burial. So pick a date. If it is 30th of December, 30th of January, whatever it is, you pick that date. On that day of the burial is when she will release the body. Now the body will be airlifted on the day of the burial from the mortuary in Accra and be brought to Abunima, and lowered. What, impudence, what indignity. How would you subject a man, if you had any emotional attachments to him, to that sort of, degrading treatment? How would you say that a man who was the paramount head of the Briggs House of Abunima, that there should be no ceremonies, and that you airlift his mortal remains on the day of the burial and come and lower him like he was a nobody, and you expect me, his son, to accept that kind of situation? What's our worry? We've heard variously that Dumo wants to conduct a second autopsy, but of course Dumo is not the police. I am not the party investigating this matter. It's the Nigerian police. If the Nigerian police insists on an autopsy, then of course the Nigerian police will do an autopsy. I can't stop that, because it's a matter that is purely before the police, and the police is investigating the matter.
Actually, there are a lot of points I want clarified, and for those who are just tuning in, you're listening to Viewpoints coming to you from Rosa 93.7 Port Harcourt. It's unfortunate that this issue would have to be discussed on live radio, and it is concerning High Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs. High Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs means so much to a lot of people. It represents a whole lot, and in fact all over Africa is held in high esteem. Even in Ghana, his name has been mentioned. He is very revered, and for so many people they consider these as an insult, the way the mortal bodies, the mortal remains of High Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs High Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs has lingered, and a lot of people want an end to this quickly. There is several interventions. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo had intervened. At the time, former President Goodluck Jonathan intervened. I'm also aware that we have Pastor David Ibiomi also intervened, but all of this seems not to have put an end to this. Now, there are those silent people who are weeping bitterly because High Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs has touched their lives, and one thing they would wish is for a last respect for him, and they're being denied all of this. Again, you said a lot of things, but what I also know, which is in the public domain, is that your stepmother said you and some Calabari chiefs are planning to deny her her rights as a woman, her rights as a wife and mother. And you made mention of that. You made mention of that. You also, it's alleged that also you are alleged to put her through some fetish Calabari rituals. Perhaps that could explain the reason why she said, just fix a date, we'll bring the mortal remains and we'll lower. What do you have to say on that?
Well, I think it's very funny, and it's very sad that the Calabari people, will be cast, in this manner, by a Calabari woman, by a Calabari wife. She was married, under Calabari native law and custom. In Calabari, the highest form of marriage, is a year marriage, and our father, married her, right, accordingly. Therefore, this was somebody that knows the Calabari customs and knows completely that there are no such barbaric or inhuman Calabari customary practices. In my 55 years on this earth, I have not experienced or witnessed or been told, of one such incident. If there were any such practices, maybe there were practices before I was born. And we've made it very clear, even in the intervening situations that the judge found himself, because he tried to mediate in this matter as the High Court judge in Ghana. She had asked to see a detailed funeral plan by us. And then of course we sent a detailed funeral plan, stating clearly her own roles. And we also made it clear that she will be involved in all the processes all the way. That there will be a family meeting where we will sit down and agree even the guest list. And the catering will be handled by her. The biography of our father, we will sit down and write his biography together. So all of those things, the events where each and everything will take place, we've also said, look, we're all going to sit down, and put it all together. And we also know that by Calabari custom, that on the day of the burial, that the wife is escorted by her family members and friends to the place where the mortal remains will be laid in state. And then she will sit by his bedside, and be speaking, to her husband, be appealing, to God, to receive his soul and to rest him, in peace, and be singing his praises of all the things, all the good times they spent, together. And we made it clear that all of those roles, right, we will have her perform all of those roles because those are her customary roles. And of course, it's also clear that if any of us try to prevent her from performing those roles, then we have also not given our father the dignity that he deserves. So there is no attempt by anybody, and she knows that so very clearly, that there is no attempt by anybody. Her concern is that she says that I want to jail her. I am not, the authority. I have no powers to jail anybody. However much I dislike your face, however much, I hate you, right, and I'm no person that I do hate, I have no right, to jail that person. What is clear here is that the police is the party doing an investigation, and she says she doesn't want any further scrutiny of the body, and therefore we will bring the body on the day of the burial to avoid any further scrutiny. Now, it's whether or not there will be further scrutiny is up to the police. If I want an autopsy as a son, then of course whatever is done is purely for my own comfort. It's inadmissible in law, so I can't conduct an autopsy. I'm not the one. If the police insists on doing an autopsy, if the police insists that in the course of their investigations, an autopsy is necessary, or for us even the first, second autopsy is necessary, that is the decision of the police. So it is not mine. Therefore, there is nothing that we had planned to do yesterday, today, or even tomorrow that we shall plan to do to prevent her from playing her roles, as a mother and as a wife. There is no such thing. No, there's never been a time. Rather, we are the parties that are being, affronted here. I have no access to my father's, home. We don't even have access, to where, he said and then he died. No access. The whole place is shot against all of us. Myself, my older brother, and my younger brother. We have no access because according to my stepmother, that we intend to kill her. Therefore, she has got the police.
Let's coming in this point, and for the benefit of those listening to us, we would entertain questions and we would entertain calls, but we just want Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs to explain explain some of the things to us so that we will have a thorough understanding. And you can also send us your views on our Facebook page. It is Viewpoint PH. Put your post there. We'll read all the views. And also on Twitter, hashtag Viewpoints on Twitter. Put your comments there. Twitter, it is hashtag Viewpoints PH on Twitter. Now we are live. You can listen live at www.rhythm937.com/ph. We'll throw up on the telephone number. Now you said something that you don't have access to the homes, you don't have access to your father's room. Now perhaps I'm just trying to explain this based on what I have read. Perhaps the reason for that is because in some publication made by your stepmother, she said you've been estranged from your father, and that some time ago your father had actually given you your own share of his inheritance, which is to the tune of about $18 million. Explain that role to us. Were you estranged by your father, and was there a situation that led to your father saying, okay, you and your brothers, this is your share of his inheritance?
Well, part of why, I had to come do this was to put to rest, some of these very, invidious lies that I've been told, malicious lies, that I've been told, about myself, about the family. I'm not happy speaking about, these issues, but of course I'm compelled, to speak to them. Now, is it not, curious? Because these same things were filed in court in Ghana, that we've been estranged from our father. And when I went to court in Ghana, I went to 3 albums and some videos to show, activities that we've had with our father from, they say we've been estranged from 2003, 2004 from our father, and only emerged, at the point of his death. Now, everybody who knows me in this state know me with my father. And at all events of my father, you will find me there. I brought albums to show myself and my father at his hospital, on his hospital bed at the Wellington Hospital in London. Pictures to show of myself and my father in his bedroom here in Port Harcourt. Pictures of my father and I, right, even with my stepmom, right, on several occasions. Pictures of myself, my father, and even the king of Ashanti when he came to Abunua. Now, my father, if we were estranged, made me chief on October 8, 2011, as the paramount head of the Briggs Oluwaruwa Kenu House. The first official function that he performed was to install his second son, the chief of the house. So, how do you explain that these persons have been estranged from the father when he made me chief? We were also together on the 26th of December. Instructively, it was even my stepmom, Mrs. Lulu-Briggs, that called me on the phone on the 26th of December 2018 that a Thanksgiving service was being held in Abunima, and she thought that I would be there. I said, oh, well, given the campaigns and all that for government at the time, that it had escaped me. So, but that I would come. And then I had to rush, to Abunima to be part of the Thanksgiving service on the 26th of December. This was a day before, my father was put on that, ill-fated flight, to Accra. So, I don't know how anybody will say that I, Dumo Lulu-Briggs, was at any point in time estranged, from my father. These are lies, from the pit of hell.
Was there any settlement? Let me quote what your stepmother said in one of the publications.
Okay.
And and I'm quoting now. She said, in fact, Chief Obi Lulu-Briggs, considered the settlement he made to them the payment of their inheritance. For him, I am my husband's next of kin, and I will not allow anyone to disrespect the wishes he has made in his will, which will be read at God's appointed time. And there she is saying that your father, it's a long statement, but I'll just said your father considered that settlement made to you in 2013 or 2004 as your settlement. Was there any settlement?
Well, I will wish that they bring the evidence, and show to the public about the settlement. There had never been a payment of any sort, other than the usual father and son relationship, and the usual father, and we know that Obi Lulu was father to everybody. There has not been any payment from High Chief Dr. Obi Lulu-Briggs to Dumo Obi Lulu-Briggs, or to my older brother, or to my younger brother, or to whosoever, as settlement for anything. If we had anything at all, it was father and son, and no more than that. Shegu, how do you settle, your son? For instance, I bought my son a car, and perhaps I would say at some point that because I gave him a car, that I had settled him. And the issue here are not to do with any settlement or whatsoever. The issue here is about the burial of our father. Nobody is talking about any settlements. And the issue says that, well, that our husband considered it, that, well, in having a relationship with his children, whatever he did for them, was settlement. We must also know that this was a man who loved everybody, who lived for everybody. And that almost every day of his life, he gave gifts and monies to his wife. Almost every day of his life, he gave gifts and monies to different people. So perhaps that he had settled everybody, including his wife, including everybody, because that was his nature. And there is no evidence that there was any settlement at any point in time where Chief Lulu-Briggs as himself had to give us any money, for whatsoever purposes. So these are all the things, that no sane person, knowing the facts, will say this. And of course, this is coming from my own stepmother. Let me read to you a text message that my stepmother on January 10th sent to the secretary of the Ine Aboyima house. That is my father's house, because we had convened a meeting of the Ine Aboyima family, and then he convened the meeting in my name and the name of my older brother. And my stepmother sent in the text. At that time, we were still chummy. She had said that he had died, had been to Accra. And I just said, well, let's leave all of these things. Let's just, be family and all that. I have not had any evidence, of what transpired in the aircraft and all the circumstances that I had at that time. So this was a message which she sent to the secretary of the Ine Aboyima house. And I read, we have a legacy, and it shall be protected in the name of Jesus Christ. It pleased God in his own wisdom to make Dumo a chief in our house. His position cannot be shared or reduced. There are elders in the house, and we should speak up. I stand by the truth, just like my beloved husband, whether it is palatable to me or not. I have a responsibility, and by God's grace, even as I mourn my beloved, I shall carry it out as the Lord God directs. My point is this: where there is a chief in a family meeting, according to Calabari custom and tradition, he presides, irrespective of his age. Please, I request that you resend, this was to the secretary, you resend the notice of meeting with Chief Dumo as the convener. Whether he turns up for the meeting or not is not relevant. Please, I await your recall of the last notice and the proper one sent. Thank you. God keep us sane.
That's by your stepmom.
That's by my stepmom to the secretary of the Lulu house on January 10th, 2019.
Okay, this is very funny because in another publication, your stepmom said, and I quote, she said, "It is now clear to me that the animosity I'm facing at the hands of Dumo and his sibling is related to attempts they made to take control of Manipulo from their father, charging him to court in Abuja, Lagos, Houston, and in London in early 2000, that is 2000. Though I was not a party to the proceeding, I bore the brunt of a lot of their accusation against their father."
It's so very funny. It's so very funny. I was instrumental.
To clarify, were there court cases related to taking over of Manipulo in Abuja, Lagos, Houston, and London?
Yes, there were no case in Houston. There were court cases in Abuja that were brought by my brothers. I was the managing director of Manipulo, so I wasn't a party to those cases. But of course, I give evidence, and deposed some affidavits in that matter. Now, what we should know is that in 2002, I had, on the instructions, of my father, gone to the Lulu-Briggs police station, where my stepmother was then detained. She wasn't a part of the family at the time. But she had been detained for more than 24 hours because of allegations that had to do, with some funds that had been embezzled by the Lulu-Briggs family, and she'd been kept there for 24 hours already. So I went and bailed her and then brought her into my father's house. She was my friend. And that's how she became, subsequently my father's wife. Now, in 2003, 2004, less than a year after she became part of the family, a lot of events became orchestrated. And the family that had so much peace didn't know any peace anymore. But we were forewarned by the Lulu-Briggs, children at the time, that if you know what this woman did to us, right, you would allow us to keep her here. Now, all of these issues were orchestrated. All of these matters were orchestrated by the involvement of my stepmother. And my brothers couldn't take it anymore, and they went to court because they realized that at the heart of all this was not, somebody who had come to marry or somebody who had come to acquire. And they felt very concerned and said, look, we are going to bring some actions to ensure that there was no further hand remotely controlling the affairs, of the main family business, which I was running. But of course, the issues got to a head, and then we said, okay, you know what? Let's just be father and son. And then we left the company. And today, of course, we see what has become of that. Yet there is no animosity. We are not talking about anything that has to do with any wealth whatsoever, that has to do with any asset whatsoever. Even the home in Abonima, she still has the keys. And so if I need to have a meeting in Abonima at the home, right, I ask her aides, and then they come and open the place for me to go in. So I have not myself, not my older brother, not anybody, none of us have indicated any interest in any assets of our father. How do we even talk about assets of our father when his mortal remains are lying, in Accra, when he has not even been buried, when his wife have not even allowed us to have custody of his mortal remains? Now, if I needed to access my father's, a property, I can only have access to those, to his estate, perhaps after he's been buried. So it should be my interest, to want to bury my father. Now, somebody who has not, of course, buried a husband, whose mortal remains are in the custody, or in a custody someplace, in Accra, has gone to read a purported will, claiming that everything had been given to her. So the only person who is interested in assets, as a matter of fact, is a person who was interested in reading the will of her husband, even while, his body was still in the morgue, in Accra. We have not asked for any will to be read. We have not asked for any sign of anything. We have just said, can we have the mortal remains of our father so we can give him a befitting burial? And then, to muddy up the stories and to give people the impression that this was a fight over assets, all of these stories, this sustained barrage of, of attacks, of lies and innuendos and all that, have filled, the public space, just to get the public confused about what the issues are. As you can see, even from, the ruling of the High Court, which happened only on the 23rd of December 2019, it was to decide who should have the mortal remains, because we had asked that the body be given to us so we can give you befitting burial. So that's the only issue. There are no other issues. Whatever issues that, we may have as a family, those ones can be taken care of, after we've given him a befitting burial. Fantastic. But this is somebody, who says that I want to give my husband, a quick burial. And at the same time, you're stopping the release of his mortal remains to the family. It has never happened, and I say this, feeling very sad as a son and as a Calamari man, that my father, unfortunately, would have made history as the first Calamari man whose mortal remains have been kept in the custody of his wife, not for one day, but for more than 1 year. And of course in faraway Ghana. How much more dishonor, how much more desecration, the mortal remains, of my father. So part of why I am here is not just to set the record straight. It's to appeal to Rivers people to call on my stepmother to do the needful and release his body so we can give him a befitting burial. Let us stop these lies and stop confusing the public. The issue at hand now is that the mortal remains of High Chief Dr. Dumo Lulu-Briggs, OON, is still kept somewhere in a morgue in Accra, and we have no access to it. There's an injunction that was brought to restrain us from even having access to the mortal remains, let alone having custody of the mortal remains. And when, of course, that matter was decided by the courts, we would have thought that that would have been, the end of the matter. But of course, an appeal has been filed by Mrs. Lulu-Briggs, at the Court of Appeals, and that matter, will come up on the 24th of this month in Accra. So how that, will play out, we do not know. Unfortunately, we are even put at a date, which of course have been compromised now by the actions, of his wife yet again.
Well, this is really very sad, and I know it could be very painful when we have things like this. Now, I'm just going to allow you to rest a little bit so that we don't begin to have some emotions here. But we'll look through what people are saying on the Facebook. We have comments coming in on the Facebook, and also we have telephone lines for you to call 0902-333-9379 and 0809-751-3294. Those are the two numbers to call. We want for you to send your comments on Facebook. On Facebook, it is ViewpointPH. On Twitter, it is #ViewpointPH. And we'll just entertain some calls live. Now we have coming here, Kerry Teddy, Dumo Lulu-Briggs, your God is not asleep. He will show himself at the right time. I pray peace find its way in your family. Akani, no matter what, I know the Calabari have a state tradition that forbids women from taking away the mortal remains of her husband from her children or stepchildren. This is a taboo. Well, Orion St. Franklin, thanks for confirming that you plan to have another autopsy in Nigeria. Did you actually have that plan?
Well, he says thanks for confirming, and he's obviously speaking to what I said here at this program. And I'm glad that all of us are here. And I'm glad that all of us, are here. And I do not know, Shegun, perhaps you remind me, if I said that I plan to have, an autopsy. So this is the same Orai who was recruited by my stepmother, who said first he was coming, to help, rebrand the Lassian brand. And all that is done from the very first day that he took on that assignment, right, was to vilify me in the public space, was to malign my character. And you can see, here that he says that thanks for confirming that you intend to have a second autopsy. But in any case, if I do intend to have an autopsy, don't I have a right as a son to want to know how my father died? So why should it be a problem for Rai or for his principal that an autopsy will be conducted? So you can see that all they are concerned, right, is that an autopsy be not done, that there should be no scrutiny. And of course there is so much evidence, to suggest that there is a need, for the public to know. The coroner himself has said that he has reasonable cause to believe that the disease didn't die a natural death. So as his wife and his widow now, would you not be interested in knowing, how your husband died? It is not an accusation. By saying that he didn't die a natural death, it's not to say that you have a hand in his death. It's just to say that, look, that there are issues here which we need to clear the public space. And then you bring a statutory application to try to stop that. And you can see from what Orai has said, this Orai is a spokesperson. He's everywhere in social media every day, attacking me, even digging into my, into my personal issues.
Let's do it. Let's go to something. For example, Saturday Uta said, God bless you, the soul of your father, for having an intelligent son like you. Well, Saturday they also accused me of asking questions that I can't ask with my Yoruba culture. Well, I don't understand that. Now, Achuamadu wrote here and said, I never met High Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs while he was alive, but his good deeds announced him everywhere you turn. We miss him, great father, grandfather, brother, uncle, and benefactor. You're a true Rivers man of the Calabari extraction. The Calabari tribe, like many other tribes in the state, is so rich in culture and tradition, and even when other tribes are fast losing valuable parts of their heritage, the Calabaris are holding tenaciously to theirs. In the state, when a man dies, his wife, who was with him at the time of his death, is asked to explain to the family how he died. It's culture and tradition to do that. It is a traditional fulfillment before the deceased is buried. So family inquest after the man dies is an old and existing tradition in River State. The son and children and extended family members are not asking for too much. The late man's wife should work things out with Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs and their other children to give the great man a befitting burial. And we have that. Now, Rogers said, I pray you guys settle this issue and organize a burial for a man of peace. Hi, Chief Lulu-Briggs. Rest in peace. God bless you. A lot of them. I'm just going to take one call. I'll read two more from here and I will take one live call. And again, we want to appeal to those that will be calling us. We want serious calls on this matter. This is a very sensitive matter. And again, if you understand who High Chief Lulu-Briggs was, it touched several lives. And the immediate family are not the only ones in pain. There are several benefactors, too numerous to mention, that are in pain over this, and it is important that he's allowed to rest in peace. And I'm just going to take on this one, and this one is coming from Goodluck Piabra. Sir, with all respect, we have heard that an autopsy test that has been conducted on your late dad in Ghana in your speech in the studio. Sir, it appears you need another autopsy test carried out on your dad. Why do you need another one done, and why are you not satisfied with the one already carried out and reported? Well, of course, you heard him explain that. Also, let me come to this one. Good morning. I'm still surprised that this case is still on. To the extent of coming on air, I foresee more drama in the days to come. Let the case be settled so that Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs is given a befitting burial. Let me just take on some calls here. Chief Lulu-Briggs is Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs gives his dad a befitting burial. That's what you said. Good morning. Hello. All right. 0902-333-9379. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Wow. Good morning to the chief in the studio.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Yes, my name is J.A.J. and I'm calling you from Port Harcourt.
J.A.J., good morning.
Yes, Shegun. I feel like waiting, but I must say, Chief, I would say you are the peacemaker of the year. Because if this thing that you explain has happened in some other areas, I don't know. But why is it that she is afraid of autopsy to be carried out by the police in Nigeria? Why is it that a plane that took off from, I think it's Qatar or Oman, could not get clearance and they have to wait for 5 good hours? What was the person you talked about, the pastor, what was he doing in a family vacation, in a plane that is going for a family vacation? How come a man you saw the previous day and he was not too fine, suddenly now okay, and now want to go on family vacation? I can't add everything together. And lastly, how come the Ghana authority have not arrested her for bringing this smuggling plane, smuggling affairs, and smuggling a man that from the look of things, since you said the body was already stiff and it took 3 hours for the body to be stiff, like 3 hours again, into Ghana. It means anybody can smuggle anything into Ghana, especially when you have Boko Haram raging in some part of Nigeria, and this same place from Nigeria. How come the Ghana authority, or you have not put up a petition to the Ghana authority to investigate that aspect of their own security breach? Oh, I feel like speaking, but she take us. Thank you very much.
Well, JJ, I should just allow me to explain that, the questions JJ has asked. Yes.
Well, thank you. It's very, emotional. I've spoken on this issue several times, and there was not once I spoke on this matter and I didn't, shed tears. I'll try to hold myself back now because I'm in the studio. The person we're talking about here, right, is my father, and what we shared, right, was quite enormous. Unfortunately, this is where, we are. We have complained to the Ghanaian authorities that what they should be doing, right, is to investigate the breach of the Ghanaian security infrastructure. If the Ghanaian police will say that there is no record, right, of entry of my father into Accra, dead or alive, and then of course the body is at the Transition's funeral home, I do not even think that the judicial system in Accra should even have allowed, somebody, right, to discuss the issues of custody of that body where the body got into Ghana illegally. So it's clear that my father's body was smuggled into Accra. It's clear, from all the available evidence that he was not alive. Even the medical report said that he was brought in, dead. The application that the police made to the coroner, right, was that there was a report, of an incident where a Nigerian was brought in, there was dead on arrival at the time he arrived, the airport clinic in Accra. And the airport clinic, is within, the airport in Accra. It's about a minute or so, by ambulance ride from the tarmac, to the airport clinic. And by the time they got there, the doctor says that there was some degree, of stiffness. So it's clear that a lot of things, had happened. And like I said earlier on, I am not the police. I am not the party that will conduct an autopsy. If I do an autopsy as a son, right, it will be for my personal comfort. Perhaps because I want to know what had happened, to my dad. But in an investigation that is being carried out by the Nigerian police, you cannot, ask the son to stop the police from doing an autopsy should the police so desire to do an autopsy. So it's a mute question why Dumo will want a second autopsy. If the Nigerian police say they want to do an autopsy in Nigeria, even if one had been done in Ghana, that is the prerogative of the Nigerian police. Because the Ghanaian police, right, don't bind the Nigerian police. And it was instructive that the IG of police had asked the head of his pathology department and AIG of police, AIG Wilson Akidu, to be there as his eye when the autopsy will be done. The authorities in Accra said that they are not, they are a sovereign nation, are not honored the Nigerian authority, and would not allow a representative of the IG of police to witness the autopsy and ask the pathologist, to rescue them and bring them out of the theater. So you see that these are all very concerning issues. So if the IG, has a petition before him to investigate the matter, and the IG sends a rep, in the person of an assistant inspector general of police, to be part of the process in Ghana and report to me exactly what he saw, and then the police in Ghana said, no, we will not allow you, and then chase the man out of the theater. If the police in Nigeria say, even on account of that they want to do their own independent autopsy, why would anybody want to stop them? But if I were, the person here in this matter, I would want an autopsy done. Even if you do an autopsy 10 times, the story would not change. The same thing that you find yesterday are the same thing that you will find today. So all of these things about trying to moralize and all that, right, are quite befuddling. You want to moralize about why would you want to tear him open again? Why would you want to do an autopsy? Autopsy is done in just about 2 or so hours. But this is a man whose mortal remains. We cannot explain how you got to Accra in the first instance. We can't explain how you got it, to the mortuary, in Accra. And that you have refused to release the mortal remains to the family. Now, how sacrilegious, how so, injurious to the memory, of your husband that you will do such a thing, and then send out in the air all kinds of stories, right, against the children of, the same man that you claim to have loved all your life.
I just wanted to hold this a little bit because we'll take one more call, and because there are other questions I really wished for you to answer. We're going to take one more call. We'll read some comments before I pose my question. Yes, good morning. Thank you for joining us. This is Viewpoint.
Good morning, Shegun. Good morning to your guest.
Good morning, sir.
Shegun, I'm pardon. And then it's me.
Yeah.
Well, I have a consolation, the fact that I want to believe strongly that at the long run, these things will that bearing in mind that Excellency, Governor of Rivers State, and in fact, even though he expressed his own frustration and disappointment with where the things went, I gave indication that he's still willing to intervene in this matter, and also gave a charge to the Calabari Councils of Chiefs to intervene in this matter. My question, therefore, is that to Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs, the studios,
Misha, your line is breaking. Misha, your line is breaking.
Okay, my question.
Hello, Misha.
Yes, with you.
Yes, go ahead with your question.
My question is position within.
Well, I didn't get that. I'm very, very sorry. I'm very sorry, Misha. I didn't get that, and I'm hoping that you could send us. But again, we have some comments coming here. We have Eric saying, Bode, Dumo, please, you're a man. Act like one. I have not heard or seen a situation where a woman, a widow, now would treat the first children of her husband like this. You're too quiet for my liking. I don't like it. This is from Eric Simbode. Well, Temple Amasi, Pastor Dumo Lulu-Briggs has done all she could do just to put you to the wall, and you're still standing strong. I've never seen my entire life where a woman becomes chief mourner of a family when we have men in such a family. She can't even try. Just want to see more of that. So she can't. Where a woman, never in my entire life see where a woman becomes chief mourner of a family where men have a such family. She can't even try that where I hail from. That is in Akbo Kingdom. Not to talk about keeping constant and custody. The land will do the needful to her. You are not the bird you would belong husband as you claim, but you are busy selling off. Well, let's just leave us very strong words we have coming from that text message there. Okay, I'm just going to take one more. 0902-333-9379 and 0809-7513294. Very, very touching situation we have here. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us. This is Viewpoints. Good morning.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Barrister Chizu.
Barrister Chizu, good morning.
Now, let me say good morning to the guests in your studio.
Thank you. Good morning.
It's very, very unfortunate that what is being discussed is ordinarily is not supposed to come. Let me sympathize with the family for the death of the father, which became the custody of the woman, and all through your discussion, you are just revealing conditions as to the extent that the property is not an issue, but the issue is that the local body of the father is used to the family. We are not even personalizing it as the head of the family, but that the local body will release to your family. It's an issue. For some other family, what we are doing initially is property, that we have left all those things aside, looking at the fact that your father is just here and behold on you to bury him. Whether he was in good times when he was alive or not, during that mission. But that used to be because my father hates me when he was alive.
Master Chizi, could you just ask a question? Yes. But
in your own case, we never know you as one who depended on the wealth of your father.
Okay.
The businessman who has proceeded to the highest peak of the businessman, and then you're still interested in everything your father who doesn't to this day. However, for those who see that bringing into public this issue of the death of women, I know that in all the social media platforms that you have always advised even your media is not to go into your family affairs to write anything against your mother. I encourage you to continue to do that. But however, those who are hired to spoil the image of your family, I wish them well. But they should also remember that what is good for them will also be good for others.
All right, thank you so much, Master Chizi. Thank you, Master Chizi. Let me allow you to go, Master Chizi, because we have a lot of people and we still have a lot of issues to deal with here. Yeah. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Minazi Jackson.
Dr. Minazi, good morning.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Unfortunately, we are discussing as a man who touched many lives in this state and beyond. This issue that is happening in your family is so disheartening. It has shown that love and affections is fast evaporating from the heart of men and women in this world. There's no way we can sustain the legacies and memories of High Chief Lulu-Briggs with this kind of disrespect to its mortal remains. It's so unfortunate. The situation we find ourselves calls for review of our conduct towards family life. There's no culture in Africa. I am a chief in my community. You cannot take a chief of that standard to mortuary without informing the family and council of chiefs. It's not done anywhere. The woman, no matter how close, says where it is not in dispute, it is beloved wife. We have our customs and tradition. You must not take such a man to even before you know he did any. away from wherever he died, even if on air. Even the maternal people is supposed to be informed. And they will all assemble to come and know whether their son is dead or not, and ask some pertinent questions before you take him to the mortuary.
Okay. These
processes is supposed to have taken place if you do love your husband. Secondly, thank you so much for separating yourself and your siblings from the property of your father for now. Properties will come and go, but human legacies and love will remain forever. We should begin to learn how to love ourselves, whether in death or alive. This situation is very embarrassing. May God help us and help the family to find a lasting solution to this problem.
Thank you so much.
What you do should be better.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Manasi, now again, Chief Dumo, you have said to us, and you said your main purpose of talking to the media is to call on Rivers people to appeal to your stepmother to allow you custody of the mortal remains of your father, so that you can give him a burial and his soul can rest in peace. But again, we also have from some publication made by your stepmom that one of our grounds is that certain gate crashers have constituted themselves into a college of chiefs to administer the rite of passage on her husband. Are you aware of this? Who are these gate crashers, and what exactly are we talking about here?
Well, quite frankly, Shegu, at some point I decided I wasn't going to read any of the lies that have been, being peddled. So this one you just mentioned now, I'll be hearing that for the first time. I don't know about chiefs that are gate crashers. I don't know if she's referring to the, Bristol chiefs, who, with her husband. I don't know who she regards, as, gate crashers, in this matter. And in any case, we have a culture, we have a tradition. There can be no gate crashers. Those who have a right to play a role, ordinarily, right, will play those roles. It was, instructive, right, for us to, to mention this. That even in the affidavit that she deposed to in Accra, she mentioned that some third party, who is a distant cousin of my father, right, is the head of my father's house. And that as a matter of fact, rather than release the matter remains to myself or to my older brother, who is by the way older than me by 14 years. So at the time our father decided he was going to make me chief in 2011, he knew he had a first son who was older than Dumo by 14 years. It was because of the love and the responsibilities that he wanted to place on my shoulder that his passing that he made me out of his house. Because that meant that at his passing I become the head. And so all the roles that I'm playing and the question that I'm asking is a recognition of the enormous responsibility that my father thrust on my shoulder when he made me chief in 2011. So there's nothing that I'm doing now that is, that is different. If I didn't ask questions as to how a man like that was taken, to Accra, when I didn't know, and I was with them on the 26th, at the call of my stepmother, that a Thanksgiving service was happening in Abonima. And I came to Abonima at that call and found that my father wasn't feeling too strong. Only to hear that the following morning he had been put on a flight, claiming that they were going on holiday. Now the flight had no landing permit to even arrive in Accra. So what were you doing putting passengers in an aircraft that had no landing permit to go anywhere? And then you put a man of that, status in an aircraft for more than 5-point-something hours at the Port Harcourt International Airport, Omago, with all the doors shut. Nobody was entering, nobody was coming out. And he had a tracheostomy tube inserted in his throat. So even if without more, right, we could see some carelessness here. So for me as a son, if I hear that and I didn't ask questions, then I am not, fit to be called a son. So it is not about any other ancillary issues that have been mentioned just because some people want to confuse the public to make it look like, it was a stepson, stepmother fight. There's no such thing.
But let's talk about this distance relative that you mentioned. Who is this distance relative that your stepmother is willing to release the mortal remains of your father to?
Well, Chief Osama Losinjak. Okay. Right. I mean, she mentioned him. As far as the judge, in Accra is concerned, he said, well, that's not the person known to this court. And that if it cannot lie in the mouth of the widow that some other third party, not known to this court, was the one who had the right to the mortal remains. You cannot lie the man to the widow. So if such a person, right, exists and knows that that he has the right to the mortal remains, he also has made a case himself. He also have appeared or possibly joined the actions. And the judge asked, what actions had he taken from December when the body was brought to Accra to take the mortal remains, of his brother or whosoever, to Accra, to Nigeria? So all of this you can see in trying to ensure that it doesn't happen. The same person who sent a text message saying that I'm the head of the house, that I'm the chief in the house, and that it has pleased God to make me a chief. Just because I ask questions as to how my father died, I'm no more the chief. I'm no more the chief mourner. I'm no more the person with authority, to convene meetings. And then there are stories that there is some third party, who is now the head of my father's house. Not me, not my older brother who is older than me by 14 years. And who instructively is also older than her. My older brother is 69 years. He's 69. So, and he's a first son. So if you're not giving the body to me, to the family, led by me, not just to me, and the family, of course, even includes our daughter. The family includes our daughter, every member of the family. The only person that is not allowed to have cause of the mortal remains is the widow. So every other member of the family, what we said to the court, that we are coming together as a family. Let the body be released to us so we can bring our father. First and foremost, it's a taboo that for more than 1 year, his body, the mortal remains, will be in a mortuary in Accra. And you, the wife, you're proud that you have an action before the High Court in Ghana, now at the Court of Appeal, asking them to restrain the children of your husband, the first 3 sons of your husband, not daughters, the first 3 sons of your husband, all of us old enough, one 69, the other one 55, the other one 48, that these persons should not be allowed access to the mortal remains of their father, and that the mortal remains of their father be given to you and you alone. So, it's
a very touching story. But again, you've heard even from the text messages we've seen and from several callers that called in that the late High Chief Obi Lulu-Briggs represented so much, touched several lives. Even beyond the immediate families, there are people whom you may not even know in your lifetime, whom your stepmother may not even know, but will talk of the goodness they've received from High Chief Obi Lulu-Briggs. You as a son, what are you willing to sacrifice? It's okay, just to allow the soul of my father to rest in peace. What are you willing to sacrifice? At this moment, over 1 year, his body has remained in Ghana, and people are not happy. Traditions are being broken, customs are being disregarded. Even people he has shown love to, they are mourning in silence. At this point, what are you willing to sacrifice to just say, let me bury my father?
Well, whatever is personal, to me, right, I am prepared, to let go. And number one here is the forgiveness, that I offer. I don't begrudge anybody. It's unfortunate that I've been put through quite, a whole lot. I've not had any time to even attend to my own businesses, because each time this case is called in Accra, I make sure that I'm in Accra, and I don't go alone. I go there with my father's brother, with my siblings, and my father's grandchildren. I go there with them to Accra. We stay in the hotels because this is a matter that is so personal to me. Of course, my father's wife, his widow, has never attended any of the court proceedings. Never done any. So she has brought an action and has refused to put a face to the action that she brought. But I have gone there every time, and I still don't begrudge anybody. Some people have said, well, that I am too quiet and all that. It's not about being quiet. It's about being, respectful of the memory of my father. It's about still struggling to exercise, restraint in the face of so much, attacks, and matters quite affronting. But, like Christ said, after all that they went through, he appealed to his father, the Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So even for me, I don't begrudge anybody. All that I ask is that give me my father's mortal remains, release the body to the family, so we can together give him a befitting burial. Nothing personal. What I would not compromise, right, is the indignity that my father is being put to, and that my father, continues to be put to, right? That is what I wouldn't compromise. That my father will not be given a very befitting passage, that there will not be ceremonies befitting of his status, that my father will be airlifted on the day of the burial and brought to Abonima, and buried. We're talking about High Chief Dr. Lulu-Briggs here. And I am glad that, he did so much for people. Forget about what he did for us. Every day of my father's life, right, he placed his hand on my head and prayed for me. For God, to open my ways. And through those prayers, by the grace of God, I have been quite successful myself. And in my father's lifetime, established myself as a very successful businessman and politician. So, there is nothing. Every day of my life, I take people off the streets and put them in homes. I take care of people's medical bills every day of my life. Even as I'm paying and going through all of these issues, I still do those with my own personal resources. So I will not be talking about my father's resources that I have not relied on in how many years, of my life until when he passed. This is not the time that I'll be talking about his resources. All that I will do as the head of his house now is to ensure that the sweat of my father and his legacies will survive. I may not know how my father died, and I cannot, no matter what I do, bring my father back to life. But I think I have a responsibility as a son to ensure that his legacies, survive way after his death. And the first thing to do in a line of trying to restore some dignity to my father is that the body is released to his family through me, the head of the house. And so we can bring his body first to Nigeria and then plan a befitting burial. The governor had intervened in this matter. And of course, you also heard the comments of the governor when he said that he was disappointed at the actions of the wife, because we had 3 meetings with the governor. So 3 meetings with the governor, each of them lasting at least 7 hours. The last meeting was from 8:30 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning. It was at 4 a.m. in the morning that she accused the governor of bias. The Calabari, a council of chiefs, have been involved in this matter because the amenable of Calabari is Serene Majesty Professor T.J.T. Prince had considered since a committee of 10 chiefs from across, the Calabari kingdom to look into this matter and try and resolve it. And he had issued a statement that by Calabari custom, that the chief in the house, which is myself, right, is the custodian of the mortal remains of my father, and the chairman of the Central Burial Committee and the chief mourner, and has ordered the body be released to me. Pastor, David Ibiomi, a man I have tremendous respect for, because of course I'm also one of, the persons who enjoy the services, that he gives to us every Sunday, and the counsel that he gives to us, had also intervened in this matter at the instance also of my stepmother. And at the end of the day, what happened? She also felt that it was bad, that she didn't know that, he was very close to me. So you bring a matter to people, they look at it, and give you wise counsel. And because that's not what you want to hear, you accuse them of bias. I have not heard of any intervention by former President Jonathan. I'm hearing that, today. I have not been called by him, so there has not been any such intervention. But I do know that I have been called by Olusegun Obasanjo, former president of this country. And I went, to visit him, in Abeokuta. And I explained the issues to him. And he said to me, be firm and be accommodating. So that's all I have tried to do. Try to be firm and be very accommodating. And that accommodation includes, even at this point, with all the affronts, includes my stepmom. I have not had anything. I have not even gone close to my father's house. Because if I go there, nobody will stop me. How do you stop from entering the place? But I don't want anything, to bring about a breach of the peace, or anything to be misconstrued. I want the issues understood for exactly what they are. That we have not buried, our father and our husband, and that we need to give him a very, very befitting burial. And that's a very concerned. He is my father. I'm very concerned. We had tremendous things that we shared, and he has so much confidence in me that he made me chief, of his house. So please, let the Rivers public prevail on my stepmother to do the needful. Let his body first even come home to his family. Even that has not happened since he died. His body has not come home to his family. Let the body be released to his family. And let us all come together, sit down together, and plan to give our father the befitting burial that he deserves. The Rivers State Governor, I have to thank him, had even offered state burial. So that's it's quite encouraging, and I'm hopeful that at the end of the day, my father will still be given a very befitting state burial by the Rivers State Government.
Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs, this is really touching. Now, there are some questions I'm trying to suppress, particularly when you said, for you, what you want is Rivers people to prevail on your stepmother, to release the mortal remains of your father to the family, so to give him persistent burial. And you say, for now, you're not concerned about the estate, because you see, again, what we have in the public is that you've procured a will, that you have your own version of your father's will, and that's the fears again. Really, I was trying to suppress that question, not wanting to ask you that question. But again, is it true that you have a version of your father's will different from the one your stepmother read?
Well, Shigu, I don't know where the will that she read came from. It's a purported will, and these are issues squarely before the court. And what did I say? Now, I don't want any will of my father read when he has not been buried. So even if there were to be any assets, I have said that I have prioritized his burial to any reason of any wills. The only person who has insisted, that her purported will be read, even when her husband is still, in Accra, his mother remains is still in Accra, not even in Nigeria. It's my stepmother who has read the will. So even if there are 10 versions of my father's will, and I am saying that I don't want anything about my father's will or anything about property decided until after he has been buried, it tells you what my interest is. And those who have gone ahead to read the will, it also tells you what their interest is. So even if I have 10 wills, 100 versions, of the same will of my father, or different wills of my father, and I am saying that all of those things are secondary. The courts have a role to play. They will look at that. They will call it a name. At the end of the day, we all have a judicial system, and we all should be bound by our judicial system and our judicial pronouncements. But I am saying that nothing be read. As a matter of fact, when I first got wind that a purported will of my father was to be read at the province, I brought an action to stop reading of the will. I said, we cannot be reading the will of such a man, whether it was purported or otherwise, when we have not done the needful, we have not given him a befitting burial. But my stepmother insisted that her will must be read. And of course, they read the will that is vanishing everywhere. And all that we have done was to query the will, that she brought, whilst insisting that until our father was buried, there will be no reading of any wills. So my interest is quite clear. The interest of my older brother, my younger brother, is quite clear. We want to give our father a befitting burial. We don't want to confuse the issues. We don't want to conflict the issues. And we will not allow, the public to be deceived, which is what, I hope that this interview, this session today would have done. And the greater thing that this session, I pray, will do is that the public, get involved in quietly and privately prevailing, on my stepmother to release the mortal remains, of her husband to his family. It's a taboo. It has never happened. Not even for one day. Even if he wasn't a chief, he was just a husband. Not even for one day will she have a right to his mortal remains by our customs. But in this case, you have had, to the exclusion of his sons, whom you say should not even be allowed access to his mortal remains, in the court action that you brought. You have kept a man, right, that you say you loved in some mortuary in faraway Ghana, and you have had absolute custody of his mortal remains for more than 1 year after his passing. That is sad enough.
You're listening to Viewpoints. Well, a very, very painful episode we have here, speaking to Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs. He said his desire is to have the mortal remains of his father released to the family so that his father High Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs, or High Chief Dr. Dumo Lulu-Briggs, is given a defeating there. And for the past 1 hour 30 minutes, we've been looking at all of that, looking at the claims and counterclaims and allegations made by the stepmom. Well, we'll just take some of the calls. Several people are still trying to call. 0902 333 9379 and 0809 7513294. We'll try and take 3 calls, and we'll go back to the social media and also see the comments that are coming in from the social media. I'm going to take this call now. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us. This is Viewpoint.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, I just understood Chief Lulu-Briggs.
Thanks, sir. Good morning.
Yes, my name is Good News. I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
Good news, good morning.
Good morning, good news.
Yes, my own interest in this issue, why I've insisted in calling, is because somehow, what the late chief has done somehow affected me while I was doing reports. That is my own somehow interest. That's why I insist calling to put my own contribution. Even from the medical center he built in reports, at least has affected most students, and then without spending money to go there and get treated, even if the drugs are not most kept there. And such man who, when I heard he's dead, I've been planning on what to do. I don't have anything to do for them in the area. That please I can come and follow and clear the road, we park well to help in crowd control. It's the same person I'm hearing that talking about his death, how they are treating his cause without respect. It's not initially I was not even happy with seriously he came to the student to talk about it. I was not really about thinking how to mobilize students, mobilize people to go to Calabar and tell them to do what to make him. But now I'm hearing from him directly. I think it's very touching. It's very touching what is happening. That a man of this status who has touched lives, including my own, is being kept in this kind of state.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you so much. We quite appreciate the comment. We'll just take 2 others before we go back to the social media. We'll take 2 more. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Viewpoints. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Let me greet my brother in the studio. Dumo
Ibate, good morning.
And I saw there's one thing I want to ask. Now, this the wife of well-respected chief, before she took this sick man, whoever, as per the account of Dumo, he was with them at Abuja the day before. Now, before she took him to Ghana, was any member of the family informed of his birth status? Did she take any of the children down? Somebody you are carrying of that status? You are carrying the claim to other people. No child is involved. No family member is involved. Is it possible? If there is no sinister move, why should that be possible? That's what I want to ask.
When again, if you listen to, thank you so much. Let's just leave it at that. Again, we don't want to cast aspersions here, because if you listen to Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs, he said he was not informed. Clear as that. Now we have a comment coming in from Chris Feinbone. Chris Feinbone said, late High Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs was our hero as early as NPN days when he was our Vice Chairman South. It is my fervent prayers that the immediate family overcome the present challenges for the remains of our departed father to be given a befitting burial, which is very well deserved. And that was from Chris Feinbone. Chris Feinbone, thank you so much for that. We also have some other, maybe we'll just take 2 more, and we'll take the last word from Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs. Yes, we'll just take this one. Hello, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
This is Olori Godwin.
Olori Godwin, make it 1 minute.
Yes. So, greet our high chief in the studio there.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
You can see the number of people calling and people that are giving 10 messages. It is pathetic and so disheartening at this point in time. After a year, the water remains of your blood when nobody can question the bond and blood you share. It's right there in the mountain, far away Ghana. Now, I won't be able to cut as much as doctor living suspicion of the stepmom, but it's very clear and the word I hear you and they know what interest whose interest he's having. And I want to commend all those who religious government just have actually shown interest in the prayer of that and have actually be firm and steadfast. Continue to become a steadfast and accommodating. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Louis, and we'll take the last call here. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Shegu.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Dumo Lulu-Briggs.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Barango Tagliaku.
Dr. Barango, good morning.
Yeah. Shegu, the issue in this call this morning, to some extent, I think is seriously embarrassing. Because I think that these are entirely family issues and they're not supposed to be discussed in the public, ranking of will and so on and so forth. You know, but the situation has got to the point that, just as our chief in the studio has established, that his essence of coming to radio or coming public is to prevail on the stepmother, so release the mother remains of his father, which I think is the right order. Obviously, as a collaborating man, it's a taboo. It's seriously a taboo for anybody, not even a single human being. Because as a human being, as long as you are born, you belong to a family. If as Chief Dumo is, he cannot hold on to the mother remains of Chief Lulu-Briggs. Because before he came there to him, he has other people as relatives, as brothers, as sisters, and so on and so forth. So it's a family unit. The corpse belongs to the family. So it is not the duty of any brother, anybody, either a wife or a son, or a single human being. Is a responsibility of the family to keep or to hold on to the mortal remains of a disease. You know, but I think Dumo has established it first and the shared with the family. So,
thank you so much.
However, I also want to clarify a particular impression. As a Calabari man, I was born and bred in Calabari school in Calabari land. It's only university that brought me to Port Harcourt. Otherwise, I would have, if there is any university in Port Harcourt, I would have schooled in Calabari land. However, we just have any time to call I chief in Calabari land.
Okay.
All we have is chief. It is in, I think it's alien to Calabari custom. That we are chief, the address of I chief, it is alien to Calabari culture.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barango. Thank you so much. Now, there you have it. Now, let me come to you, Chief Dumo Lulu-Briggs. Your final words. We just have about 5 minutes. You have said, well, the reason why you agreed to this interview in the first place is to appeal to Rivers people to prevail on your stepmother to release the mortal remains of your father to the family for burials. So, what more would you want to say to the people listening to you now?
Well, it's to thank them for all the prayers. I'm very particularly, touched today that everybody who had phoned in or who had sent in a message, had spoken glowingly of my father and his contributions, to humanity. That's quite consoling in the face of all the things, that I've been through, that we've been through, as a family. That we're glad to hear that people, revered my dad and still speak of him, with such warmth, and love in their hearts. So I thank them, and I appeal to them. I urge them, not to relent, to continue in their own private ways, howsoever possible, to prevail on our stepmother, the wife of my father. I have never said at any point that she was not his wife. It has nothing to do, with her rights, to his estate. Nobody is talking about any estate. As a matter of fact, the entire estate is at her custody, and nobody is having that fight. All that we are saying is release his mortal remains, so that we can give him the honor and the respect, that he deserves. I don't think that as his son, even if I were not the head of the family, I don't think I would be asking for too much if I ask, that the mortal remains of our father be released to his family, which is the Calabari custom. And I will say this. I didn't want to say this, but it is very particular to me. Unfortunately, my grandfather died, in faraway Emekuku in the 1940s. We didn't have access to his mortal remains, and he was buried, at the cemetery in Emekuku. But my father felt the need to search to find the place where his father, was buried. And then they took us to a mortuary by a Catholic church in Emekuku, where my father, took some sand and put in a casket and brought his father's, body home, and buried eventually in 2008. Now, this is my father, right? Who so much revered, his own dad, and will go to that length years after his father, had died, at a time when there were difficulties with transportations and everything else, to ensure that there was a wonderful homecoming that he gave, to his father, and that such a person would himself be kept in a mortuary in faraway Ghana. That even the story that his mortal remains was smuggled into Ghana is sad enough to me as a son. Why would my father be put to such indignity, such desecration of his mortal remains by anybody? And in this situation, we're talking about someone, who was his wife until the day that he died. Why would there not be any love, in the hearts, of people? Well, she is a pastor, and she knows the first things, about having a human face. So even recruit somebody, to constantly attack the sons of your beloved husband, right, is worrisome. But we leave all of that. And like I said, I don't begrudge anybody. People do things for the different reasons for which they will do them. I am answerable, to my God. And I am glad that my father, had prayed for me, had blessed me before he passed. And I pray to God that after all of this, in spite of all of this, we are still able to have a strong Dumo Lulu-Briggs family going forward. Thank you so very much, Shegu, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And thank you, Rivers, for bothering, to listen to me for more than an hour, 30 minutes. Thank you. God bless you all.
Dumo Lulu-Briggs, once again, our condolences.
Thank you.
Well, that's Viewpoint this Saturday, and of course, we leave you with the stories to make your judgments and to make your deductions. Thank you so much for being part of it. Stay with us. The news at 10 is up next. Now, you can follow Viewpoint anywhere in the world. Follow us at www.rhythm937.com/ph. Also on Facebook, we're live on Facebook. It is Viewpoint PH. On Twitter, it is #ViewpointPH. Now, remember, you can listen to this program